Hello.
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 Hi there.
Hello and welcome to the podcast formerly known as the RadioTimes.com podcast. We've been kicked out onto our own little platform now, so you will be listening to the Football Times podcast with myself, Michael Potts, sport editor at RadioTimes.com, and today I'm joined by the returning Mr. Jake Wilson, junior writer for Match of the Day magazine.
What is happening? We've had an upgrade. This is lovely.
We've had an upgrade. We have our lovely little new home now, so you'll not be bothered by the Strictly Come Dancing lot or any of those people who you just don't really care about. We will be exclusively bringing you football takes, previews, any sort of fantasy football tips, and we'll be here every week. Every Wednesday you will see us. You'll hear us. You'll hear us. I will be seeing a new member of the Match of the Day team, and we'll be taking you through the weekend's football on TV. Let's just get straight into it, shall we?
Let's
No
go.
more time for intros. Everton versus West Ham. Saturday lunchtime. It's a 12:30 kickoff on BT Sport 1. Feels a little bit like the roles are reversed on this one. I think it's a bit of a classic Premier League fixture. Usually it's Everton in the driving seat and West Ham maybe struggling to reach that level. And I think we're kind of seeing a bit of a reversal of the two now. West Ham on the peripheral of the top six.
Yeah, definitely. And it's a strange one. You've got West Ham, that properly classic Premier League manager, Pellegrini, doing really well, has seemingly sorted them out. But that new up-and-coming manager, so much was said about Marco Silva, especially when he was at Watford, and he seems to have no real plan of how to fix Everton's problems.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we'll start with Marco Silva, but he reportedly has 3 games to save his job. I think it's always ominous when you put a number on the amount of games they've got left, but yeah, I mean, he's had a whole international break, probably by himself. I think a lot of his players will have gone off around the world. Can he pull this back? Can any manager pull it back from that level of scrutiny?
It's a strange one, isn't it? 3 games sounds quite a few. I think if he gets hammered, so to speak. There we go.
Yeah, cancel the podcast. We're done.
Sorry, I'll leave. Kept you coming back now. Yeah, then he could be in some real trouble. We spoke about them quite a bit. They've got the players there. They need to find a system that works and some consistency. You know, when I watched them play Wolves, their last Premier League win, they were really quite good. Wolves didn't have a lot of the ball and not a lot of chances either. We took two when we had them, and then they had the 3 goals themselves, and they haven't won since. That's 4 games without a win in the league for Everton, and it could easily be 5 with West Ham. So.
Absolutely. I think it's hard to look at what the problem is with Everton, really. I think is that they've got a lot of good players, maybe not quite gelling, not quite clicking with each other. I think Sigurdsson, particularly for me, is the big disappointment. He's got no goals, 1 assist so far for such a creative player. He's on all their set pieces. He actually missed a penalty during the week for Iceland on international duty, which wouldn't have helped him. I just think when an experienced pro like that, he's done it. He had a time at Spurs, not necessarily the most successful, but he's an experienced guy, and I just think when you've got youngsters around you, you've got to step up. I don't know where he goes during these times.
No, he has gone very quiet. I think that whole midfield kind of region, especially in the middle, is really struggling to kind of find any consistency. Delph, we know what we're going to get from Delph, but they played Schneidlin next to him last game, and he got hammered.
Schneidlin's bizarre. I just feel like he's
a strange Premier League
gone
player
for a while. Yeah,
Man United he played for.
Yes, that was a weird time.
No one remembers that.
They'll probably take him back now.
Probably.
Yeah, the other thing as well, which I've brought up before, but I think it's still worth just basking in how good this stat is, how cool this stat is for anybody who isn't an Everton fan. Marco Silva from set pieces, the amount of goals he concedes, we're up to 21 goals conceded since the start of last season for Everton. So that's 21 in 46 games. At Watford, he conceded 17 in 44, and at Hull, he conceded 14 in 36. So he's pretty much 40-50% of the goals his teams concede are from set pieces, and it's if you can't change that basic element, then can he change? Can he actually change enough to get this team winning again?
Especially with Keane and Mina, they save themselves. They throw themselves at the ball. They're built for the air. That is a big stat.
Yeah, Crazy. And yes, they have West Ham this week. Just when you think they've got it all sorted, bam, last minute VAR, lose to Crystal Palace. Fabianski is out of this one. He's having surgery, so Roberto will start. Probably a good chance for Everton to test a keeper who hasn't really been between the sticks.
Definitely. The defence looks pretty good as a whole, West Ham. But I think the keeper situation is one that they're going to want to try and take advantage of. Fabianski, loved him ever since his Swansea days. I've always repped Odd Lucas, and they will miss him in net. They haven't won away from London since December. Only once, and that was Watford. So they've got a big challenge ahead of them too. They'll be thinking they've got to take advantage. So it's interesting. Both sides are going to have some good thoughts about this one.
Absolutely. My other meaningless stat is that West Ham didn't win there were 15 games they went without beating Everton, lost 10 of them between 2007 and 2014, which is utterly meaningless. That will have no bearing on this weekend's match.
Sure, Declan Rice won't be worried about that stat.
Declan Rice will think, oh no, Ricardo Vaz didn't stick one at Goodison Park.
Tony Hibbert had our number. No!
Well, I'm going with a score draw for this one.
I can't disagree.
Tony Hibbert got a shout out on the podcast. Yes, Tony Hibbert.
Rep Tony Hibbert.
I'm going with a score draw for this one. I feel like this is a chance for Everton. I mean, it's do or die, isn't it, really, for Marco Silva? And 100%. I think you've got to set them up to attack.
1-1 might save him there.
Might just about keep him there for the other two games. Moving swiftly on, Saturday evening at 5:30 on Sky Sports Premier League and main event, we have Crystal Palace and Manchester City. I was trying to work out how Crystal Palace is sixth in the Premier League table in 2019.
Unreal.
Roy Hodgson, it might be a wizard.
I don't know what he's done, who he's sold what to, but he's got things going.
I genuinely, I don't know. I'm out. I think Zaha, he obviously he looked better against West Ham. I think he's had a bit of a quiet start of the season. That little move. Schlupp sort of missed a sitter.
Oh yeah.
Looked tremendous in that little section.
Ivory Coast he stood out for as well. Yeah. There's a clip going around the Twitters.
Interesting. Haven't seen
loads of skill, and he fed it in, and Pepe tapped it in, but he did look dynamite there.
So this is Palace with an £80 million player coming into form. It's so strange though. I mean, they were hammered by Spurs, but they're just beating the teams around them, and I think that's such an important thing when you're a team who was tipped to go down pretty much this year.
Consistency. So many teams don't have it, and they seem to kind of play at the same level pretty much every week. And I think that's so important. Roy has really got them kind of consistent and solid. Cahill's come in and he's been rock at the back.
Barely heard anything from Cahill actually, but
just a dream for a centre back, isn't it?
Gets on with it. Yeah, exactly. I think the quieter a defender is, that's good. That's fine.
Exactly. He's not being asked to Harry Maguire the ball through the lines. He's been asked to kind of shut up shop, and they've done that. They don't concede a lot of goals now, so they don't need to score that many.
And I was wondering, it's been a while since you've been on the podcast,
a few weeks. And
it's funny that you've managed to come on this week, the week after beating Manchester City. Wolves fan, Mr. Jake Wilson here.
Yeah,
he's returned this week. How was that?
Oh, it's glorious.
What did you make of City? I would love to sit and chat to you about Wolves for a while.
Do a separate episode on
we'll come
Wolves.
Back another time.
Yeah.
But what about City?
City, they were without De Bruyne. I think that was massive before the game. Me and my Wolves conglomerate, we were talking and we were saying, without De Bruyne, we've got a sniff here. And we really did. We defended well, we sat back deep, and they couldn't break us down. They didn't really create loads. Wolves' defence hadn't been great earlier in the season, but it seems like we've got it back now. Crystal Palace may look at that with some fond eyes, but I don't think they should. De Bruyne's going to be back, and last time City lost a game they shouldn't have lost.
So you think this is going to lean more closer to 8-0 than 2-0 loss?
Yeah, 2-0. Yeah.
What do you make of City at the minute though? Because I keep coming back to this thing of letting Vincent Kompany go without replacing him. It's just it's the most obvious madness. I think we've seen it a top club for a long time. It's Otamendi. I mean, I watched both goals. I watched them again this morning, and if you pause the frame, I think it's the first goal when they break away. If you pause where Otamendi's position actually is, he's like the 4th, 5th highest player at the pitch. He was ahead of Sterling, and I was like, he's just drifting through the middle, and it's like, come on, mate, have a bit of leadership, and obviously once the ball slips through, you've got Fernandinho, the centre midfielder at centre back. it's almost not his fault for his positioning being a bit off.
No.
Cancelo's drifting about like it's just completely lost.
Wolves on the counter were unbelievable. Jimenez sent Otamendi for a hot dog for the first, but it was Otamendi jumping in that gave
him
him
a hot dog.
Yeah, Otamendi shouldn't have given him the chance though.
Yeah,
and I think Palace will look to that. Zaha and Schlupp, if they're the two kind of wide players again, can really get at them if Stones isn't back, especially. But
absolutely.
I don't think the problems are that deep at City. I think when they've got the Stones back, if he starts playing or Laporte comes back, wherever that may be, I think they'll settle again.
Laporte's the one. I guess he's just out for so long. It's kind of hard to rely on him. I don't know whether they need to go out and get centre back in January or who knows. But obviously money, yeah. I'm still not ready in this new world where Palace are good and City, wobbling. Still not quite ready to say Palace. I think I'm going City here, but it should be a close one. Let's move on to Super Sunday. We have 4:30 kickoff. It's just the only game of the day. It's on Sky Sports Premier League and main event, and it's a tasty one. It's Manchester United versus Liverpool. For Man United, I know there's all the old jokes about rain in Manchester, but it's gone from raining to pouring. David De Gea injured, international duty.
Just when they thought they might get their players back.
Yeah.
Martial Howe might be coming back. Yeah. Lindelof might be fit. Wan-Bissaka, but you lose your main man in net. Not the best.
It's not ideal. Although, my controversial take, Man United should have sold David De Gea. Yes. Man United should have not backed down to his outrageous demands. I think Sergio Romero is a top keeper.
Oh, he's brilliant.
I think he's as good a keeper as anybody. Like, I think he could probably play for pretty much anybody outside of City and Liverpool maybe at the minute.
Oh, definitely. And with Henderson that they've sent on loan to Sheffield United, if next summer it is that De Gea leaves, I don't think they're going to be worried at all. I think Henderson move up, leave Romero where he is. That's a perfect pair.
So I actually don't think it's the biggest blow for Man United. I was almost hoping you disagree with me there and just launch yourself across the table.
I really rate Romero. He's number one for Argentina and he has been for countless years now. Like, he can't be a slouch.
Can't understand why he's happy to sit on the bench. Don't quite get
the money
that.
might be good, the facilities are strong, and he probably backs himself to get in the side. Rustiness might come into it a little bit, but let's hope he keeps out a few and we have a tasty game.
I mean, I've watched Man United a few times recently. I watched that. I keep coming back to that Arsenal game, and it was so hard. It was so hard to watch. Yeah. I've got no particular affection for Man United, but it was so just laboured. Like, I think McTominay is a good player. He's a very good player, actually. I think he's anchoring that midfield well. But beyond that, there's just nothing there, is there? No,
their midfield has really struggled. They played Fred and McTominay as a midfield too last game, and they couldn't find the forwards. Even then when they did, Mata and Pereira didn't really turn and go. It was such a strange one against Newcastle, and Newcastle, hit them on the break basically, and Ketch was very happy and came in glowing on Monday morning. But Man U was such a strange side. If they do get someone back for this game, they've got to play them, even if they're 80%. They've got to have some freshness in that team. Cause
desperation time, isn't it, really?
It's poor.
They've won none of the last 5. That includes an away trip to AZ Alkmaar. And I'm not counting this Rochdale penalty shootout as a win. Like that is not a win for Manchester United.
Whoever you are, no.
It's not looking great, and
not scoring goals either.
When you're not scoring goals, when you're struggling to keep them out, it's not great when Liverpool roll into town.
No, not the one.
Liverpool, they're not blowing teams away, but they're just getting the job done.
They're not having to. They're not really being challenged or scared that often in the league. Obviously, Salzburg gave them a right scare.
Yeah,
3 goals there, but they're not scoring 5 or 6, but they're not conceding barely any, so they're not really needing to. Yeah,
I think that the Leicester win kind of, I mean, that's everything from a champion, what you would expect from champions-elect sort of thing. Like, I don't know, having people like James Milner, who I know it was a penalty in the end, but having people like him who can step up and just those unsung heroes. I keep thinking, the obvious one I keep coming back, like Park Ji-sung back in the day for Man United, like just pops up and like you're always going to guarantee a 7 out of 10 from him. He's going to step up with the match-winning goal when the big guns are having the off day. And I think against Leicester, who are one of the most consistent teams around, very, very good team this year, I just think that's such a good win, even if it looks like 2-1 on
Huge
paper.
Result. And you can talk about Mane and the penalty all you want, but he impacted the game when it needed to be impacted, and that's what I think. It's such a luxury when you've got 3 players in your starting 11 who could potentially win the Ballon d'Or, or at least be in the conversation. Liverpool have got it all really on paper. Alisson might be back for this one.
Yeah, that's a big plus as well, because I guess Adrian, for all he can be a decent shot stopper, you're never quite as safe with him.
He's not
with
the
him in
one,
there.
is he?
He's not Alisson.
He's not Alisson, but who is? You know, and Liverpool know 18 on the bounce. This could be. They could equal the record. Premier League wins. They don't do it at Old Trafford that often, but they're going to want it.
Yeah, you don't bat against them in this one, do you? Really?
No. When Harry met Salah, I think
that's
how it's being sold.
We've started.
That's how it's being sold.
We've started Football Times on a great note here.
I'll bring up a Nora Ephron reference anytime, sir.
Wow, you're not coming back. I've seen a few, just a side point as well, I've seen a few combined 11s. So the tabloids love a combined 11.
Of course I do.
I saw one the other day, and I can't actually remember who it was. It was. I'm being told reliably that it was Danny Mills, and he basically just went for the Liverpool team. Would you select
11?
Is there any Man United player who would get into that 11?
I think you'd look at Maguire. I think if you put him and Matip next to each other, I think for his ball playing, Maguire you'd have a go with. There's an argument for Pogba, but don't really seem like we've seen a lot of the best of Pogba recently. But I think 3 midfield roles, I'm sure one of them.
Yeah, because I think like Wijnaldum made his way into this imaginary team, and like a few years ago that wouldn't have been feasible at all. You would have just laughed at them. But he's actually turned it right round. He's become an excellent player for Liverpool. And Pogba. Yeah, I mean, he just really needs to get back into the swing of things, doesn't he?
You know what Pogba you're going to get? You're going to get a passenger Pogba or the captain Pogba. They're going to need. If they're going to need Captain Pogba, they're going to need him soon.
Absolutely. I think Liverpool win here.
I can't see against it. Old Trafford, they don't like it, but Liverpool win.
Number 18 for Liverpool. Moving on to Monday Night Football, we have Sheffield United versus Arsenal. It's on Sky Sports Premier League and main event at 8 o'clock. I guess we'll start with Arsenal here. They actually look quite resolute at the minute. I think I've been pretty critical, and I think a lot of people have been very critical of their defence. They've conceded 1 in 4 in all competitions. They've got players coming back, which is good. I think the likes of Tierney, Bellerin. I mean, instantly having 2 new fullbacks, that's going to change the whole dynamic, surely. Oh,
especially going forward. Kolasinac and Chambers aren't as mobile as Tierney and Bellerin. So going forward, they've got enough as it is, but with those 2 as well. Dangerous. But keeping goals out, scoring 1, maybe 2 goals a game. It's not lighting the world Arsenal, up, but they're winning games.
Yeah, exactly. It's doing it.
Moving up the table.
Yeah, I think I watched Arsenal in the Europa League before the break, and it was when Martinelli scored his couple of goals and stuff. He looks like a great player, him actually. I can't wait to see him coming through. May have to wait behind Aubameyang and Lacazette.
Yeah,
but a good prospect all the same. But Tierney really caught the eye in that one. I think his deliveries are so good. I mean, he's done it for a while at Celtic. We all know what he's capable of, but I think in a team where they would probably always prefer going forward than sitting back, I think having someone like that who's going to get forward and be utterly just devastating with his crosses, big plus for them.
And they've not forced him straight into the team. He's had a few months to settle into the club. If this is his start, that'd be amazing. I'm sure that time will have done him the world of good.
I think that's the ultimate test of patience, isn't it? When you've spent a lot of money on a left back and you're still playing Kolasinac, like just sort of waiting, like when can we get rid of this guy? But
it seems now.
They've got some good fixtures coming up. They've got 3 home games in the next 8. They've got 3 home games against the bottom half teams. Palace in there, and then away games. It's Sheffield United, Norwich, Leicester, West Ham. Don't play any of the big 6, so it's probably a good chance for Arsenal to get some wins on the board there.
You know what Christmas is like for Arsenal, though.
It's that time again.
Bring that one up. So,
obviously, they start that run off against Sheffield United on Monday night. Bit of a strange team who they haven't scored in 4 of the last 5 games, including their 1-0 defeat to the mighty Sunderland. Equally, they've only conceded 3 in their last 5 games, including in their 1-0 defeat to the mighty Sunderland.
Beautiful.
A bit of a not particularly the neutrals' choice, Sheffield United, but they're getting they're getting it done.
They are, and they play a really interesting style of football. Those centre backs do not stay at centre back.
Yeah.
Quite often you'll see an Egan furthest man forward with Ender Stevens, like on the left wing, and that's really great to see. A different style of football. They aren't scoring the goals, and that is a worry. Callum Robinson looks a right decent player. Isn't hitting the net though. He is getting in those areas though, so hopefully that comes. McBurney hasn't quite took off yet, but he is more of a finisher, so the chances hopefully it will come. And Sharp coming back,
sure.
They might need him off the bench.
Yeah, just going to mention Billy Sharp there. Obviously, there's the whole stat about him never getting the chance in the Premier League before. Being probably the ultimate Football League striker. Can't think of any better really.
No.
You can't doubt that natural ability, and I just think when the going gets a bit tough, and it will, that defence isn't going to hold solid for 38 games a season. And I just think players like Billy Sharp, like no matter what level they've done it at, they've done it. And so you've just got to give him that little bit of a chance. He's
going to be so hungry and so ready for his moment. When he comes off the bench, he gets 10 minutes at the end of a game.
Absolutely.
They might throw him on and Leon Clark on and have 4 men up front or whatever, but he will take chances if they fall.
He's 33 as well, so it's not like he's going to have too many more seasons to crack the Premier League.
Especially if they go down, this might be it. This might be his Premier League debut and swan song. So we want Billy to have a good season.
Sorry, Blades fans. I think you've just been condemned there to the championship.
Who condemned it? It wasn't me. I didn't do anything.
In this one, who are we going for? I'm sticking with Arsenal here.
I think Arsenal, but I think Sheffield will be real positive in the game, and I think they'll be confident they can get a point out of it at least.
Absolutely. I think the pattern suggests a narrow win. But should be a good one all the same. Which leads us, on the theme of Arsenal, leads us nicely to Fantasy Premier League tips. I've gone for Tierney this week.
Ooh,
hasn't started yet in the Premier League. He's 5.4 million, so he's dropped slightly in value. I'm sticking with him. I'm going for him. It's time.
Yeah.
It's time.
Good. If he doesn't play now, we know who to call.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, you can just file your complaints to
Michael Potts.
Jake Wilson. And Callum Chambers is an interesting one as well, right? So he's 4.4 million. Not quite sure what his future is really, because I've seen a few people tipping him to actually move into the middle as a centre back, and if that happens, I mean, you absolutely quids in. So I think he's maybe a one to watch, not necessarily throw in straight away.
Definitely, I think those cheap defenders are a smart way to go. I'm going to say Diego Rico.
Yes.
4.3 at Bournemouth. He's playing at left back every game, and those Bournemouth fullbacks do fly. So, could get a clean sheet, decent fixture this weekend. Could be a good cheap option.
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe not this weekend with Man City up next, but I feel like everybody went and chose Martin Kelly from the very first day. Yeah, the new Wan-Bissaka.
He's doing it.
And but he's actually, like, the amount of time, I don't think I've actually got any points from him yet. He's just sitting there like second, third on the bench, and it's actually probably, once City are out the way, start to...
Oh, he's had some clean sheets as well, so he is a good signing too.
Picking up the points. Chelsea and Leicester both got good runs of fixtures. I was at Chelsea, Southampton the other day, and my word, they're going to tear teams apart this year. They're slowly turning into a real unit.
Willian sorted himself out. Abraham can't stop scoring.
He did. So
Abraham's got by like 50% of people on FPL now, though. So you might want to look at a differential there.
Yeah, bit of a chance to leap on their good fixtures.
Yes.
Any other tips for us today, or are you all clean out?
I'm not telling any Wolves, because if I say Wolves are going to be great, then
okay, yeah.
Not
so everybody pick Jimenez.
And then he'll score a hat-trick.
Excellent. And what's coming up on Match of the Day magazine this week?
This week, it's a very special week. Ooh. So it is the F2 takeover. So the biggest YouTube stars, the F2 freestylers, have taken over Match of the Day magazine, bringing the banter, bringing the techers, bringing the skills. It is wicked, this issue.
Banter and techers? No way.
And techers. That's what they specialise in. You kids are going to love this issue. And for all the Match Attacks followers out there, on the front cover this week, we've got, for every single reader, a bronze limited edition Eden Hazard card. It is dynamite.
Thanks for bringing me one. Yeah.
I'll send it down.
I wait for it. Excellent. Thank you very much for tuning in. This is the Football Times podcast. Please give us a subscribe on Apple and on Spotify and everywhere else you can get your podcast from. We'll be here every week. We'll be bringing you football previews, and you can also check out radiotimes.com/sport. It's our brand new shiny page. It's got full of previews for all the sports. Thank you very much for listening. Cheers.